Hey everyone, this is Gabe Gurwin. I'm joined today by Dean Thompson. We're back after our long break. You're watching GamingAngelGabriel, and this is what we saw. So before we start the show, welcome back everyone. I've been gone for about a month, and Dean's actually still been busy over on his channel. He's been posting videos. That's Vinny Corleone 62. Escape to Gaming. He's been doing some great retrospectives and reviews, so go check that out, and I'll make sure to put a link in the description. So if you're new to this show, it's basically a news aggregate. We take the best gaming news stories from all around the web. It's usually just over the course of a week, but we went a little further back now because I've been gone for so long. And we give you our thoughts on them and how they relate to the industry and our thoughts on upcoming games. So the first thing I want to talk about is a game I actually just got last night, installed, and have not had a chance to play yet, but I know you have plenty, Dean, so you'll be able to talk about it some, and that's Far Cry 3.
Oh, yes.
So Far Cry 3 was I'd say it was like the last big release of the year. It was originally supposed to be like the first big release of the holiday season. I think the initial release date was going to be September 4th, and that was announced at E3. Like 2 days after that, they they changed it, pushed it back like 3 months to fine tune it and whatnot. But I have a couple reviews up here. Both of them are very good. Metacritic average across the three platforms it's on sits at a 90, which would usually be indicated, a very good game. But especially this year, that's much more impressive, I think, with some of the slightly lower scores we've seen. So I have a Giant Bomb review up here. They gave it a perfect score, 5 out of 5, by Brad
Wow.
Shoemaker.
That's impressive from them.
Yep, it is. And he starts off and says, the story mode has one of the strongest starts I can remember in years, as your prep school party boy Jason and his idly rich friends skydive onto the wrong tropical paradise and get themselves kidnapped by pirates and slave traders. Now, I think the thing that I really liked about it, because I've been watching, some Let's Plays and whatnot, is at the beginning how they show this environment, and they show you skydiving in and all these bros, fist bumping and whatnot, and you're wondering, okay, well, how is this going to happen? How are they going to build this up to you getting captured? In fact, you already are. All the stuff you're seeing is on a phone that Voss, the villain, is showing to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really well done. So he goes on to say at the end, he points out some problems. He says, if the story had made good on the strength of its initial premise, Far Cry 3 would have been a shoo-in for Best Game of the Year. As it stands, it's still the most fun I've had in an open world in ages. A game that plays so well and looks so good, I wish every other piece of it reached the same high bar, but you should play it anyway. And I think at some point in here, if I can find it, he mentions that it takes some elements from other Ubisoft games, specifically Assassin's Creed. Oh, yeah, here it is. It says, Far Cry 3 takes some concepts whole cloth from other great open-world games like Assassin's Creed and Red Dead Redemption, but it's easy to look past the direct inspiration since the lifted elements just make this game way more fun. I know you're gonna, repurchase Assassin's Creed 3, but from, what you know about the Assassin's Creed franchise, do you think these elements worked well in Far Cry 3?
Yeah, actually, I just had a brand new copy for my PS3 that my father-in-law just sent me of Assassin's Creed, and I haven't had a chance to play it yet. I'm actually anxious to. I wasn't a big fan of the franchise, but they did borrow some of the elements when you unlock the radio towers. It's very similar to what happens in some of the earlier Assassin's Creeds. But I think it's Game of the Year as far as Far Cry 3. I did a review of it within the first 4 days of playing it, even though I didn't play it all the way through. I was so stoked and so excited to play it. It embodies everything that makes an excellent action game. The beginning story alone, I haven't seen that kind of fear since the original Manhunt. It really gets you to where your heart's pumping. You feel like you're on the run. You don't know the environment. You're way over your head, and it captures that essence of that story very well. So the characters are very well portrayed. Excellent voice acting, wonderful animations. Just looking at the eyes alone is almost eerie.
Yep.
It really is a great game. The action is off the hook. I mean, there's every type of way that you can accomplish taking over these pirates from virtually, from over 100 meters away with a sniper rifle. You can go in quietly with a suppressor on a Scorpion, on a high rate of fire machine gun. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you everything that you'd want if you're a fan of shooters.
And you mentioned how good the eyes look, and I agree. And that's kind of strange because the same studio, Ubisoft Montreal, that's one of the shortcomings of Assassin's Creed 3, are the eyes look weird. They look like they're
Strange.
made of glass or something. And someone mentioned that it looks like they have Vaseline all over their lips, but that's not really present in in Far Cry 3. So yeah, all I basically did was install it. I haven't really had time, and I'll talk about why a little bit later. But the next review I picked a newspaper because I pick gaming sites a lot, but this is from Guardian, which is one of my one of the sites I go to sometimes for some good news stuff. It's in the UK. It's huge. I'm sure most of you guys listening know about it.
Yeah,
and,
the reviews are very well written.
Yeah, and he says a similar thing. Far Cry 3 starts brilliantly with a montage of phone and video footage documenting the high-holidaying jinx of a bunch of moderately obnoxious American students on Rook Island, an apparently idyllic Pacific paradise. But after a parachute jump, things go unspeakably wrong, with the party captured by Voss, a gloriously characterized and very believable psychopath who has an ego the size of a planet and is giving to philosophizing about the nature of madness and random acts of chilling violence. Now, I want to touch on that a little bit. Michael Mando, the guy who did the acting in this game, if you go on Machinima or just Google the Far Cry experience, you'll come up with a series of videos. They're live action with him and McLovin from Superbad, Christopher Mintz-Plasse. He is such a good actor. Just the teeny little things he does with his voice. I think he ad-libbed some of the dialogue when they were writing it. And originally, I was watching a video, he was talking about it. He went in and he was going to be playing this big, brooding, tough guy. He was auditioning for the role as this huge, tough guy who was supposed to be the main villain. And he didn't do that. When he went in there, he kind of played this sort of character. And they wrote him into the script because they liked the character so much. And they got rid of the villain they had.
Yeah, in fact, initially the villain was this big hulking kind of a Schwarzenegger guy. He had this fire damage. It was scarred in one side of his face. He tried to make him look ugly and completely distressed. And I think that they found him. He was perfect for it. You go, you know what? Let's just motion capture this guy. He's flawless for it. And it was an excellent choice, by the way. Very good choice.
Yeah, it's great. He has these little tics he does, this sort of dark comedy kind of that he does in some of his scenes that make you laugh and you kind of feel bad about laughing because it's so twisted. But yeah, Far Cry 3, I wanted to play that game for so long. It's sitting on my Xbox. I'm too tired to play it tonight, but I'm going to be jumping into that tomorrow. I've been watching some Let's Plays of it. I don't know if you know SSOH PKC. Or Kutra, they're two Let's Players, from the Creatures, who I've been getting really into lately. Really like their stuff, and the game, it just looks amazing. Everything in it looks like they made it as enjoyable as possible. It's not convoluted, and that was you'll notice this for sure when you play Assassin's Creed 3. Is they kind of put presentation over gameplay at some points, which gets frustrating. They want to tell this grand story, and they do, but at some points it can be frustrating. But anyway, Far Cry 3 looks to be one of the best games of the year. Dean named it his favorite game of the year, and of course...
It is by far, and believe me, it was a tough choice. And I haven't played all of them yet. I haven't played Halo 4 or Assassin's Creed 3 yet, but it's highly impressive. I mean, right off the bat, if everything else is a 70, 75, it comes in at a 97. I mean, it's just over the top. That's just my personal take on it. But then I'm a fiend for action and... for guns and
this is a good time to plug next week. Same time as this episode's going up, we're going to be doing the What We Saw Game of the Year Awards. So we're going to have lots of different categories, and we're going to crown the Game of the Year for this channel. So we'll look to see you there. Now, the next game, I think you mentioned it once actually already, is Hitman Absolution. Now, this came out about 2 weeks earlier than, exactly 2 weeks earlier than Far Cry 3. This is a long-running series, obviously, IO Interactive, and it was originally published by Eidos, I think, but now it's published by Square Enix. This game, it got a little bit of a mixed reception, I think. A lot of people who are new to the series really, really liked it, and I think it was rated a little bit lower by those who were kind of longtime fans of it because they said it was a little bit too easy on people, I guess. But the first review I have up here is from G4TV, and they rated it as a 5 out of 5. And I just want to read these off because I thought they were kind of funny, the pros and the cons they gave it. Now, the pros, they said, an elaborate environments overflow with murderous possibilities, huge amount of content, one of the best-looking games of this generation, and Contracts forces you to approach the same locales from different perspectives. But the con that they put in there I thought was, I don't know what the guy was thinking. He said, too limited field of view when hiding inside of containers. was one of the cons he listed.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. He still gave it a 5 out of 5, so obviously.
And actually, it's pretty cool. You hide in a dumpster, and it allows you to lift the dumpster, and it has a button you hit for peek.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the dumpster lid opens up, and you can see it's perfect. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's going to have their own issues with it, but
it looks really cool.
I was impressed. At first, I was actually not wanting to like it because I was a fan of the bigger, more open world original Hitmans and Blood Money. Well, I'll give it a chance. And then I had a friend of mine that just raved about it. And once I played his, I go, okay, this is too much. It's just incredible. You can't wait to get to every level. It's so exciting. The varied location shots. Each location is exquisitely detailed. It has a wide array of really twisted David Lynch type characters, or something out of a Quentin Tarantino film. Actually, it's just over the top. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion, for a stealth game.
Yeah, from what I've seen, some of the characters, I don't know what his name is, that cowboy guy. He seemed like very over the top, almost reminiscent of like a Saints Row the Third, those types of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it looks really good, but the thing I noticed, actually, we've been talking about Ubisoft. 2 different elements in it seem to be lifted almost directly from 2 different Ubisoft stealth action franchises. I guess they work well. So the first is the instinct, not all of it, but it's kind of like Eagle Sense in Assassin's Creed 3, how the people light up different colors.
Exactly, it's almost identical. Yes.
And then the other thing, this is a little bit different but in Splinter Cell now there's the mark and execute function, and of course point shooting is a little bit similar to that, although the way you charge it up is different.
Exactly.
So,
which has been used in actually a few other games as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing that people seem to kind of be a little bit down on was the melee combat. They said was a little simplified down to kind of quick time events to what it used to be.
It's almost like Splinter Cell. You just go up and you just hit a button, and it shows a really nice animation of them, coming around with perhaps a knife or with a wire or something like that. But you don't have the real visceral feel like with Sleeping Dogs. I mean, you could punch and hit a knife, and it was like there was a button for everything. But this one, it's kind of simplified. But again, it's nice. It gives you a lot of options in how you take the different people down. It just has a simple approach in the actual mechanics.
Right. And in its defense, I mean, Sleeping Dogs was built around kind of a kung fu formula. So, and then the other review I have for this is from GameSpot, and this is, see if I can remember who, Kevin Van Ord, and he said, the best missions are open-ended and allow you to be stealthy or shooty. Stealth missions gameplay is tense and challenging, and excellent production values instill a strong sense of place. The negatives, he said, were AI inconsistencies, diminished the action, and multiple linear anticlimactic sequences. The AI thing, just from kind of watching, I noticed it looks pretty easy to distract someone by chucking something somewhere.
Well, actually, it looks that way, and I got to the 3rd level, and there was one scene where to get in this hotel, and there's 3 different ways. You can infiltrate through a sewer system, come up, and you can don a janitor's outfit and work your way up. Mm-hmm. You can take an electrician out in this other side alley and creep in another back way. You can go in the front door, you strangle a goon right out front, go in as a mob guy, but if you get too close, they see you. So it says take a bottle and throw it, because I have the guide. It says, if you want to go in the front door approach, shoot at the wall, they'll walk down the stairs away from the elevator, give you just enough time to go up and hit the elevator button. It didn't work. I kept trying it. They'd come after me with every gun. I have to redo the whole level. And it was very frustrating. So it does have the AI is in some parts seems kind of dumb, and if you can kind of go in and do your pretty much work around them. And then there's other times where even with a disguise on, they're on to you big time. It's very frustrating. So it's a challenging game, to be sure. It's not one that you can rush through in a hurry, because I was anxious to get into the next level, and I got 4 levels into it, and then all of a sudden it started like feeling in quicksand, or I'm getting slowed down. I have to really be methodical and careful how I approach each mission. So it is quite challenging, and you have 4 different levels in the game's defense, including 2 probably very hard levels where the HUD is completely diminished. You don't know what the hell's going on, and it's more of an authentic Hitman experience for those that kind of miss the old days. So it's highly optioned for the player to pick his play style within the game.
Is it spoilery to mention why the HUD isn't there?
What it does is it just you can forget about the instinct is gone. I mean, it literally a lot of the I think I don't know all the particulars, but a lot of the details as to even how much ammo you have in the gun, it doesn't show you anything. Manhunt had a similar mechanic on the hardcore level where you just eliminated almost everything on the HUD.
Is there a reason for that story-wise, or?
I don't know. It just makes it really difficult. I mean, if you want to, torture yourself, I suppose you can go through it. To me, just on the normal default setting, it's fairly challenging. The first couple levels are pretty easy, and they kind of hold your hand on the tutorial one, obviously. But it does pick up pace from there. So you have to be thoughtful about how you're going to do it. There was even one of the earlier missions where I had to do it like 3 times. It was a simple thing, but just right when you're around a corner, someone sees you, and if you're seen planting the bomb by the car, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I try to dispose of this damn body repeatedly. It was very frustrating, but it's a fun game. I like a good challenge, so for me, it was great.
I also heard the checkpoint system is kind of frustrating.
Yes, it is.
It's like
it's this glowing little yellow, kind of like a shower that you go into. You kind of walk into this little thing. And all of a sudden, it saves, I guess. It's an autosave. But then you go back to it, and the damn thing's gone. I'm like, these SOBs, I mean, what kind of an autosave is this? So it is kind of frustrating, the save system. You know, in fact, that might be my only con that I would give the game. In retrospect, I think would be the save system.
All right, so Hitman Absolution, doing pretty well. Maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're a stealth action fan, it looks like you'll enjoy it quite a bit. Yes. So the next thing... I actually had to do a double take when I saw this. I had to look to see if I was missing something, and I wasn't. This is from IGN. The 3DS in Japan has now surpassed lifetime sales of the PlayStation 3. Now, the 3DS did not sell well at all until like the holiday season last year. PS3 has always sold way better than the Xbox by, you know, a country mile in Japan, and that's kind of the reason why now they're really, really neck and neck worldwide. But to date, in Japan, the 3DS has sold, looking here, 8,799,378 units. So it's very specific. And the PS3 has sold 8,716,260. I have no idea how this happens. I guess in part because it's a less expensive system, but not drastically. I mean, it started at $250. Of course, the best version of the PS3 started at $600, but it dropped in price, and now I think you can still, in some places, get a PS3 here for like $200 with like 4 games.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's $200 or maybe it's $249. I'm not sure.
It was a Black Friday bundle.
360 you get it for $249 with 2 games and the 250 gig hard drive. But
it was a Black Friday bundle. I saw it was like you got Uncharted. I think it was 3. You got Uncharted 3, Infamous 2, and some DLC for 1. And then there was one more game, but it added up.
Yeah, it was a Black Friday deal. Yeah, I think you're right. It was at Walmart, I think, or somewhere.
It was a few different stores. I was like, what? $200 with 4 games? But I didn't buy it because I didn't want to buy a console that close to the end of the generation. But anyway, the 3DS, I don't know how this happened. The 3DS is a very, very good gaming system. Out of the 2 right now, while the Vita is clearly technically superior, the 3DS has the better library. But still, wow, 2 years. The PS3 has been around since 2006. It had a 5-year advantage over this system, and it's already falling behind. I thought that was just amazing.
I think it could be because Sony's been having some problems. They're not coming out with a tremendous amount of exclusive games for the Vita or for the PS3.
Not this year, at least.
And I think that the sales the last 2 years have kind of dwindled. I don't think that what happened with the hack job on the PlayStation Network was a huge help. PlayStation Home is frankly a disaster. I do love the console and love the exclusives on it, but I can see it's just not up to snuff with what you get for the Xbox 360 for playing online. And
online and the interface definitely. And like you said, exclusives generally, I'd say the PS3 wipes the floor with the 360 in terms of number of good exclusives. But this year, it's just been some downloadable ones. Of course, next year, we're getting the heavy hitters are coming back. For the Vita, we're getting Killzone Mercenary, which looks to be the first actually good first-person shooter on the Vita. It's developed by the same team that did the console ones. We're getting God of War Ascension. Well, I'm not. I don't have a PS3, but God of War Ascension and The Last of Us, which obviously...
The Last of Us. I'm going to trip over women and children to race the GameStop to get that the first day, so I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, and something to mention, actually, I've heard multiple people say they thought it was like The Road. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
Oh, I sure have. I have it in my Blu-ray collection.
What you might not know is a large portion of that movie was filmed north of me in Saxonburg because it looked so terrible. It looked so post-apocalyptic. They filmed it there.
I lived in Delaware. It's very similar.
Yeah, a friend of the family worked on it. Said Charlize Theron's really obnoxious, by the way, but
yeah, she is. She isn't. It isn't a likable character for her in that film, frankly.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought that was a good movie. It's depressing as hell. But this looks to be kind of a similar sense, and both one set in Pittsburgh and one was filmed in Pittsburgh. So
No, I know it's awesome. I actually like that aspect of it.
Yep. Okay, now the next thing we're going to move on to, and this is kind of a sad news within the gaming industry. Machinima laid off about 10% of their staff, mostly editorial. So this is from The Escapist. They had a little statement I'll read from Machinima. They said, "Today, Machinima underwent a reorganization to address its global growth, and this process unfortunately resulted in layoffs. Less than 10% of Machinima's workforce was affected. Also, as part of the restructure, Machinima is hiring across key divisions, including sales, marketing, and product." Now, I think the thing that hits home for me and a lot of viewers is the people who were affected, in large part, were some of the more visible members.
The key people. I mean,
right. Billy
Shibley.
They got
a person like Billy Shibley. Yeah. I love his reviews. I'm just really saddened and sickened that he's gone.
Yeah,
not to mention Jason and the other guys.
I heard they just hired an executive like the day before, so I don't know if this was I don't think this was like a long-term or like a long thought-out decision, but I can't verify that. But Billy Shibley's gone. Matt Danovic is gone. I really liked him on Inside Gaming. I thought he was hilarious. And Lindsay Washburn from Machinima Realm was gone. I was kind of I didn't know really what to think. I woke up to this and I went to Hutch's Twitter and he mentioned, "Sorry for all the people at Machinima." I'm like, what's going on? And I saw that I really like the InsideGamingDaily.com, so to see it get trimmed so much is really unfortunate.
Oh, it is.
Now something a little bit brighter. So this was shown at the VGAs, and I'll leave you a link where you can read about it a little more on Game Informer. A trailer for a game called The Phantom Pain. Now I posted about this almost immediately when the trailer first went up, and of course it was very strange. All the other games we saw had been announced before at the VGAs, and this one it looked very not avant-garde, but very unlike what we've seen before, and almost like a hallucination or something. And then details started coming out. At the end of the trailer, it says The Phantom Pain, and there's lettering which you can kind of see behind, but you can't really tell. Some guys on NeoGAF almost immediately drew out all the lettering and saw that it spelled Metal Gear Solid 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, Hideo Kojima hadn't mentioned this. He had mentioned a game called Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes and, in fact, showed some gameplay for it. It looks outstanding. But the info on their website, this new studio apparently called Moby Dick Studios, said that it was found by a guy named Joachim Mogren. Now, the interesting thing about this, and someone pointed this out almost immediately, is Joachim is an anagram for Kojima, and in the middle of the last name Mogren is Ogre, which is the code name for his project, which he hadn't announced. So you can actually go Joachim Mogren. I typed it in on Facebook, and it's this happy-looking guy from Sweden, which they say is where the company is. It was made like back in August, but I'm guessing that was just kind of a fake page they made for it. So this could mean, though, that in the near future we are going to get 3 different Metal Gear games. Usually, I've been a Splinter Cell fan; it's my favorite franchise. But these games have also all are supposed to be coming out on the 360 as well. Of course, we just saw the box art was released for Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. That game looks sweet. It's made by Platinum Games. Ground Zeroes, which is supposedly a prologue to Metal Gear Solid 5, and then Metal Gear Solid 5. So you can look at videos of people kind of dissecting all the trailers, but Hideo Kojima is a master troll, I think it's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually, I guess, in the VIP section of Konami, some people were wearing some Moby Dick Studios shirts, so I guess they figured people would figure it out. But yeah, that's the last news story of the day. 3 Metal Gear games. Of course, there's still stuff coming out for Splinter Cell Blacklist. There's a new video about the art direction, which Zach Cooper put up. I talk with him a lot on Twitter, and the game looks amazing. They talk about this thing called Through the Lens, where there's actually kind of a physical camera you're looking through in the game, so it shows lens flares and
excellent.
Stuff
Sounds
like that.
Great. Yeah, that's is going to be hot on my list of games to get when it comes out.
Oh, I can't wait. I just don't know whether I'm going to be here or back at school when it comes out. Depends on whether spring 2013 means March, April, or May. So now we're going to be moving on to the feature. Now, a couple weeks ago, we did a feature. I'm calling it Dean Defends Duds, and the last time it was for a game that critically was not well received that Dean happened to like, and this was 007 Legends. But I decided to remix it. This time I changed one element of it. These are games that were not critically well received, and games that Dean also did not like. But I gave him the challenge to try to squeeze every bit of positivity he could out of what he remembered about them up against some of those negative reviews I mentioned. Now, I had him give me a list. I didn't tell him what it was for until really, last night or early today?
Yes.
And because I wanted to kind of make this a new kind of experience. So the game, he gave me a list, and the game I picked was Turning Point Fall of Liberty. Now, this was developed by Spark, who are known for one of my most poorly received reviews, I'd say, over at CGR Undertow for Call of Duty Finest Hour was a game. I insist that it's a bad game. I've owned it. I bought it when it came out. I insist it's a bad game. But that was developed by Spark, and they're also developing the actually very good-looking Lost Planet 3 for Capcom coming out early next year. But Turning Point Fall of Liberty was kind of universally panned. And I'm going to start this off just talking a little bit, this review from Eurogamer, and see what Dean has to say, biting his tongue to get every bit of positivity he can out of it. So the first thing we'll start off with kind of the premise. Turning Point begins by asking what would have happened if Winston Churchill had died before World War II began. Then it immediately answers thus. Germany would have blitzed the UK into submission and, having fixed the trains and weaned us off dangling prepositions, a future to look forward to, to which we can look forward, invaded the USA by air in 1953. The game begins as you, some sort of construction worker erecting the steel framework of a high-rise building, get a close-up view of the initial bombardment of New York as German ordnance dismantles your work and the city around you. Now, that's kind of the basic premise.
Which was awesome. I thought it was a brilliant premise. I bought my my Xbox 360 back in 2009. I had seen previews of it. I had read articles about it. I said, man, this game is for me. I love anything with World War II. This kind of an alternate concept of what could happen if. I thought was brilliant. It showed a full-scale invasion of New York City. I was just salivating over it. I literally smoked the tires down to the game place right after. And I bought Wolfenstein, and I bought that Turning Point were the first two games that I bought. So I can't tell you the enormous letdown within probably 90 minutes of playing the game. It was very frustrating. So and I kept kind of pushing through it because I was insistent upon seeing the good in the game.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it kind of seems like the reverse story. Have you played Resistance Fall of Man?
Oh, yes. In fact, I have it. That was the first game I got from my PS3.
Yeah, and my friend, obviously, the PS3 launch sucked, like, major ass. But that was, like, the one game when the PS3 launch happened that was really, really good, and I played that with my friend at his house. But, yeah, it was kind of like the reverse of that, how the aliens invade, so World War II never happens.
Yeah, it was another fascinating premise.
So one of the things they mention immediately, I'll see how you... They're pretty hard here, but I'll see how you take this one. Turning Point's use of the Unreal Engine is also rather baffling, given the things we've seen done with it in Gears of War, Bioshock, and company. On occasion, it looks like a PlayStation 2 game, and not in the sense that it's ropey looking for a 360 game and we're being severe, but in the sense that it literally looks like a PlayStation 2 game.
Or an original Xbox from like 03 or 04 or 5. I mean, it really is very rudimentary, extremely clunky graphics, even down to the skin color of the characters. I'm like, are they zombies or Nazis? It was very odd. Everything, the shooting mechanics were just god-awful. And that's giving it the best of it. I mean, the premise is nice. The initial opening scene of what was happening with the invasion, and you're trying to straddle these girders and work your way down, was awesome, even though the graphics were lackluster. The cutscenes weren't too bad under the circumstances, but it just went downhill fast with rockets.
Were there any visual elements that you say you'd like in the game?
I think overall, you start in New York, you work your way all the way to, I think it was Washington, D.C., if I remember right, and it captured some of the elements of fallen New York City with Nazis infiltrating and taking over. You look up in the skies, you see Zeppelins above New York City and the Empire State Building. It had epic set pieces that if they had just put some better art direction, a little bit more time and development into it, it would have been a real gem. Even if it had, let's say, average, kind of lackluster graphics. But these graphics were like, it was just horrible.
Yeah,
it's just god-awful. I don't even know how to describe it accurately.
I'm reading an excerpt from the review here. It says, fire effects range from party streamers to blobs of orange Vaseline having their own party.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. I would have said something else. But, it's very odd. Very strange shooting mechanics, very odd fire. The way the Nazis would jump down off a wall in front of you. Like, are you kidding me? It's like something you'd buy my daughter when I first got her a PS2. Oh, God bless her. Here's a little Ratchet and Clank. It had this very kind of cartoony element to it that it's not supposed to be that kind of a feel of a game. It should have been more realistic, like a Call of Duty. And it really was just atrocious. But
it says here, and I'm pushing you here. I'm trying to help you out to give you a chance here to defend this. It says early screenshots showing the White House draped in Nazi flags and the invasion of New York City had us hoping the Turning Point's alternate take on history would give us a good reason to pick up a gun and kill some bad guys. But when the time came, Turning Point offered nothing but more of what you had already seen.
That's what sold me on the game, were the screenshots and the early articles on it, because it seemed brilliant. The screenshots, again, I was kind of late jumping into the Xbox 360s. To me, it looked compatible with what was near the end of the first cycle of the regular Xbox. I thought it looked decent. I was very excited about the premise alone. Compared to some of the regular Xbox games, it was going to be fine. But after playing, I think the problem was I played the Wolfenstein, which was done by Raven Software, which to me was gorgeous for back in 09.
Yeah.
And then jumping from that, I kept going back and forth, and that might have been part of the dynamic that was throwing me off. But believe me, I gave this game every chance. This is like a bad girlfriend that you just want to kick out the door, but you're insistent on trying to see it through. And in the end, it just ends badly. I mean, it was just a god-awful experience. I just kept trying to hope it was going to get better. I said, I'll wait. I'll get down to the subways. I'm sure it'll be really epic. And you get down there, and it was just dark and just strange. Everything about the game was just off. It's hard to even put into descriptions and into words. And just a very off experience.
And especially this console generation, there are a lot of games where they make you sit through some stuff before it gets to the good stuff. Now, usually they're from more prolific developers. Like I mentioned Black Ops 2, the first 3 levels of that game, I was mad because I thought the first couple levels of that game really sucked, and then it really picked up and got good. Assassin's Creed 3 was okay near the beginning, but it was very slow. But yeah, the one other thing, I have a GameSpot review here, and they mentioned something similar. For a game that relies so heavily on the backdrop, it's remarkable how little it does with the actual story.
Yes.
So,
unfortunately.
And it seems like they had a good idea, but alternate...
It was a brilliant idea, and it's how they could screw it up is beyond me. In fact, I'd almost like to see a reboot. I think that game could be redeveloped by a really good company, someone that's, let's say, doing Crysis 3 on the Crytek engine or something.
Oh, yeah.
It would be an amazing game. It could be a candidate for a game of the year if it was done right, because it's so unique. It's such a great concept. But again,
just notice something. Fall of is in the subtitles for both of these alternate World War II history games. Fall of Liberty, where Germany invades, and Fall of Man, where Germany never gets to invade.
Yeah, it's an interesting distinction. Yeah, I never thought of that.
So that was Dean Defends Duds. You did a very good job there of trying to bring every
believe
bit.
me, I'm the type of guy where I look for the fun in every game. I'm the type that could play E.T. on the 2600 and actually derive a couple ounces of fun out of it. But this game was tough. I mean, it was worse than staying up at an all-night dentist. It really was just horrible.
Ugh. So, all right. So the last segment we're going to move on to, and this is a little bit weird because it's been a little while, but what we're currently playing. Now, last night, for Chanukah, I got a few different things, kind of all at once, because Hanukkah actually started while I was still back at school, focusing on finals, which were lovely. But I got the Wii U, and I was messing around with Nintendo Land today. It's a ton of fun. I didn't know how much I was gonna enjoy it. I heard, it's okay, but it's kind of a casual kind of introduction to the system. But I really liked how easy it was to sync some of the stuff. The gamepad worked perfectly with the TV. Very creative gameplay. Actually, I think my favorites were the Pikmin minigame, kind of where you're running around as an Olimar character and you chuck Pikmin at enemies and kind of solve simple puzzles. And you can do that with friends playing as the Pikmin, which is really cool. And then there's a Donkey Kong one, which is very, very cool. It's kind of like a really complicated Plinko or pinball, something like that. So I got that. I was playing a lot of Halo 4 before finals, and then the two games I got last night were XCOM Enemy Unknown, which I was actually planning to buy today. I was very happy that my mom gave a hint to my brother that I was looking forward to that. And then the other one was Far Cry 3. Yeah. What have you been playing?
You actually scored, aside from the actually getting it in the awesome Wii U, which I can't wait to get myself. I think those are two wonderful games. I'm dying to play that XCOM Enemy Unknown, by the way. That's another one that's hot on my list. I'm just inundated with games right now. I got to get through these 5 games, and I'm struggling with trying to do my show, and then the busy time of year for me at Christmas, everyone wants their place painted right before Christmas.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I've even had to shelve Far Cry 3 for about 3 days now, and it's killing me. But I'm going to try to play it tonight.
And I will pester you to finish Dishonored because that game is so good.
No, I know. I need a week for that. So I want to finish Dishonored and finish Black Ops 2 is the other one I haven't finished before I get XCOM. But I'm extremely envious. I'm dying to play XCOM, and I'm really envious of the Wii U. I think you really scored. That's a major Christmas gift, or I'm sorry. I guess Hanukkah gift.
Oh. So actually, if you look now, and this will probably not be true anymore by the time the episode goes up, but GameStop has now restocked both versions of the console. It looks like they're available.
Good. That's great news.
So maybe run as soon as we're done. But yeah, I was very excited. XCOM's supposed to be brutally difficult. The only time I'm okay with a game being that difficult and I want to keep playing is a turn-based strategy game. Fire Emblem's the same way. But yeah, guys, I'm very excited to be back. It's been a while. This channel is going to be getting a ton of more content. I'm going to be doing Let's Plays with some people in a couple weeks after Christmas. And next week is going to be the What We Saw Game of the Year Awards, where we're going to tell you what we think are the best games of the year. I'm going to have, hopefully, some people on there to help present. So my name is Gabe Gurwin. You're watching Gaming Angel Gabriel. I'm joined by Dean Thompson, and this is What We Saw.
Awesome.